Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. Today I'd like to show you my first little kind of plant aquarium that I'm trying out here. I've had fish aquariums before. I don't have a large tank at the moment, so I thought I'd just try a small plant and pond snail aquarium. So this here is a large vase that I got in a charity shop. I'm not sure how many litres it takes, probably about 5 litres, maybe 4 litres, I'm not sure. It's a decent size. So I've got 2 plants in there at the moment. The long one here, the long thin one, is a good oxygenator, and that is Elodea, that one. It's a type of pondweed that grows really fast and is good for oxygenating the water. And in fact, in days when it's sunny, it gets direct sunlight, I can see small bubbles coming up from the plant. So it's quite a vigorous grower. You can see curling around there. When I first put it in here about 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was probably just about there, but it's curled all the way around, so it's got a good growth. I also read online it has some kind of antibacterial compound that it releases, which stops the growth of blue-green algae, which is a bacterial type of algae. It's not actually a plant, it's a bacteria that photosynthesizes. And as you can see, after several weeks, and even though this has got quite a high nitrogen content because I have put some feed in here, there's no algae growing on the sides, so it's kept nice and clear. Now I was wanting a few algae to grow because I wanted the main thing I wanted to grow was the pond snails. So I'm hoping they've got enough food, but they are growing. What I did is, at my parents', I have a big aquarium there with lots of goldfish and lots of pond snails. But the pond snails can never reproduce because by the time the eggs are big enough to hatch, the fish have eaten the eggs, or they eat the small hatchlings. So I just took 3 clumps of eggs. Each clump probably had about 50 eggs, 50 little snails in the clump. And they've now hatched. You can see them here, all those tiny little dots. Don't think I can easily focus onto them because they are quite small, but you can see there lots of little dots, and that's all the snails. There's probably about 100 in here, but they're all dotted around. You can see them, they mostly stay towards the top here. There's a couple there, and there's also quite a few growing actually on the plant itself. Now the other plant I've got in here is I'm not sure how to pronounce it, I think it's Eleocharis. It's a dwarf hairgrass. There you can see it just down there. Quite small, just a bit like, just looks like grass basically. And there's a bigger one back here as well, and that was just small cuttings that I took off of my my parents' main plants. And the third plant is just a tiny little piece here of Canadian pondweed, but this was actually slowly dying out in the fish tank. It wasn't doing well, but the other pondweed here, the Elodea was doing really well. So I think this one's not going to grow a lot more. So basically, it's just distilled water from my dehumidifier, so there's no chloramine or anything to kill the pond snails. Put the eggs in there, waited a few weeks, put some grit here. This is just horticultural potting grit. I gave it a rinse before I put it in because there was quite a lot of dust on it, and that's what I planted the plants in. So there's very little nutrients in there, so I've been dropping in just a few drops of very diluted baby bile, which is high in nitrogen, but it's quite a balanced feed. Just get some nutrients in there for the plants to grow, the algae to grow, and then hopefully some nice sludge will start building up which the plants can grow inside. What I'm hoping for is this to be carpeted completely with this dwarf hairgrass down here. There's not a lot of sunlight at the moment because it's the middle of winter, so it's not put on a lot of growth, but hopefully as the sun gets stronger it will grow quite well. I'm also hoping for the pond snails to get quite big because I'm wanting to get a large aquarium and fill that with plants and pond snails, but the tiny pond snails will be eaten by the fish. So I want to breed some larger ones in here and then transfer them to my final aquarium when I get it in a few months. The only issue I have got is the calcium. I put some cross shells in here to pull up the calcium levels so the snails have enough calcium to form their shells, but once that's gone there's not going to be enough calcium. And with over 100 snails in here, it's quickly going to run out. So I'm going to have to find another source of calcium. I might try sterilized crushed eggshells, or I might look online. I might get some cuttlefish husk, I'm not sure. But I'll have to look into that. So that's it so far. As you can see, the snails are very tiny, very hard to pick up on the camera. You can see one there and several more on the top here. So they're very small. I haven't got far yet. You can probably see the little black dots in there. That's all the little snails. And you can see a few snails here. These are a bit larger, these ones. You can see them on the pond reed as well. They do get eventually about this big, a good 5 centimeters. They get quite large. I'll keep you guys updated as to how these are growing. At the moment, they're doing alright. There's no predators and there's enough food for them by the looks of things. I have put in a small potato peeling just down the bottom there. See if I can get that on the camera for you. And there are actually a couple of snails on there at the moment. So it's doing its job. It's just that white bit down there. And as I said, there's a few snails on it. So they're eating that. And I may have to feed them some boiled lettuce or something if there's not enough light to grow the algae. But so far that's my little mini aquarium with pond snails, and I'll keep you guys updated. And if I do finally get a big aquarium, I'll also do a video about that too.